Welcome to the Putback on SNY.TV. I'm Ian Begley here with Chris Williamson. Chris, what do we have for the baseline?
Kind of a shaky start to preseason for RJ Barrett, but he turned things around on Sunday, scoring 25 points, leading all scorers, went 10 of 17 from the field. What was the reaction to his performance?
Yeah, an efficient night for Barrett on Sunday, and he bounced back in that second half on Friday to shoot the ball well. And I think the reaction among the Knicks was optimism. Barrett said that this is kind of what he's expecting for himself in year two. A scout I spoke to late Sunday night said that he liked the way Barrett's shot was looking early on in this preseason. He felt that he saw a couple tweaks maybe to the shot that he liked, and he felt that Barrett was shooting the ball with confidence. So, that's something to keep an eye on. If he can become a knockdown shooter from the perimeter, that unlocks so much more for his game. But I think so far, so good for RJ Barrett here with the Knicks.
This week's guest is RJ Barrett's trainer, Drew Hanlen, an NBA skills coach and CEO of Pure Sweat Basketball.
And what do you think of RJ's rookie season? You worked so closely with him over the years. What did you see from him in year one?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I saw some good things and some bad things, but the truth is I saw a lot of areas that he can grow. The hard thing about rookie seasons, for high draft picks is their expectations are through the roof. And a lot of times they're going to these teams that aren't competing for playoff spots, aren't competing for titles. And without talent around you, it's hard to really shine, especially when you're, making that leap from college to the NBA, which is such a big jump. And so I look at RJ's free throw shooting, which everybody had a problem with, and month to month, he kept improving, which means not only mechanically did he improve, but also mentally and confidence-wise, he improved. I looked at playmaking, something he didn't do early in the year, also developed throughout the year. And then I looked at shooting. Shooting was an area of concern of mine, going into the season, just because there were some mechanical adjustments that the staff had made to his jump shot that were not there in the pre-draft process that, caused some kind of unwanted inconsistencies in his shot. And so we echoed all the concerns that a lot of the Knicks fans had, and we tried to do our best job addressing the ones that we thought were the most important, which is shooting, basically, the number one, and second thing being a playmaker, number two. And so we think that he'll improve in those two categories next season.
And Drew, in regards to moving RJ's elbow out to improve on his shot, how much do you think that's going to help his game this coming season? Well,
I can just look at the other players that I've done the exact same changes to and say that it's helped them a lot. Kelly Oubre was one of those guys, left-hander, that shot across his face, and we moved his elbow out. He's obviously improved his three-point numbers. I also did the same thing with Jason Tatum. Obviously, Jason Tatum needed to also lower his pocket, so he did two things. He lowered his pocket and moved it out, but you see the results that Jason Tatum's got. Shooting's all about being comfortable and confident and consistent. Those are the three big C's. And the problem was he wasn't comfortable and he wasn't confident and he definitely wasn't consistent. He was 0 for 3 last season just because, the elbow positioning was causing him some discomfort. So I think that he's, a lot more comfortable with his mechanics now. Now it's just about continuing to rep it out and develop the consistency that matters to improve his, effectiveness when he's out there on the court.
I'm wondering if you could shed some light on Brock Aller.
Yeah, he's considered, I think, strategically very good. I think RJ and Tibbs are a lot alike, even though they're separated by a lot of years. But I do think they have the same approach. I believe they care about winning, and they really care about development. I think he can really embrace Tom's teaching and develop his offensive game, which we all know he has to become a better shooter. And knowing Tom the way I do, I think you'll see RJ Barrett maybe post up more than he has in the past. He's a driver, a little bit of a playmaker, a pull-up shooter. the shot's improving. I think you'll see him in the post a little bit more, and a guy who can, score in the open floor. He can become a very good defender, again, if he's committed to that end of the floor as well.
When you look at his game and how it's evolving, as time goes on, are you willing to share like what you think RJ's ceiling is?
I mean, I think I think he has a chance to be an all-star in this league. I really do. He's a guy that has all the physical tools. He has all the mental tools. He's won at every level. I mean, he dominated at every level. And he's a worker, and that's what I look for when I look at young guys. Do they crave improvement? Are they coachable? Are they willing to be vulnerable? And are they willing to take criticism? And he checks off all those boxes.
I mean, it's so rare, Drew. It's like once in a generation that you see a young player, a player RJ's age, who was 19 last year, come in and really impose his will on the NBA game. There's always peaks and valleys for these young players. We saw it with RJ last year, but the coaches in particular, Mike Miller, David Fizdale, other coaches, other people in the organization, they all noticed how RJ, he was able to stay in the moment no matter what over the course of the season. Obviously, a lot of losses last season, but he was always able to flush that loss last night behind him and come out and practice the next day and give 100%.
He's super competitive. He's honestly hyper competitive, to the point where sometimes I'm like, hey, it's all right. It's all good. You know what I mean? He cares so much about everything, whether it's basketball or playing cards or anything. So I love players that prioritize winning. And I think that that's something that not a lot of young players that have star potential do. A lot of young players that have star potential are only worried and concerned about their stats and their image and their kind of their brand around their personality, whereas all RJ wants to do is win basketball games. And that was the thing that frustrated him the most last year, was that he didn't have the ability to impact winning at the level that he wanted to. And so if I was a coach, if I was a fan, and I was looking at RJ, I would say that he cares about the right things. He's willing to work on the right things, and he's all into contributing to winning, which is what should matter most to every player.
Speaking to the Knick fan right now, what would you tell that Knick fan out there that's looking forward to seeing RJ in year 2? What should that fan kind of expect?
I did go out and tweet one thing, and somebody had said, who do you expect to see a big time jump from this season? And I responded, I quote tweeted it and said, RJ, just because I've seen how hard he's worked, how locked in he is mentally, and I really do think that he's going to grow a lot. I think it also frustrated him when he was watching the film, how many little mistakes he made, how many moments of fatigue kind of, he had. When you look at his shot now versus last season, I think you're going to see a lot more disciplined shooter. I think you'll also see a lot more efficient player, which should also excite fans.
And what?
So Austin Rivers missed the Knicks' first 2 preseason games with a groin injury. He's going to come back at some point. And when he comes back, he's going to take somebody's minutes. And the question is, who is it going to be? Maybe Rivers starts, maybe he comes off the bench. My best guess, based on the stuff that I had heard from a few people earlier this month, is that Rivers would take Frank Ntilikina's spot in the rotation. Obviously, things may have changed since I had those conversations. The idea was that Rivers was going to come in and certainly have a rotation spot with this club. So it would be Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, maybe somebody else whose minutes get taken. But my odds-on favorite, at least earlier this month, would have been Frank Ntilikina. And Drew, you've trained so many top players in this league, starting with Bradley Beal, Jason Tatum, so many others. But now the amateur player can now get in touch with you and kind of pick your brain and kind of learn more about your process.
I started a free text community. I always make fun of, all the talk shows that grab onto the headlines of, LeVar Ball versus Michael Jordan or LeBron James. Is he the GOAT or not the GOAT? And so I wanted to start a text community where I could actually give them kind of real information to help educate them on the game of basketball. So fans can just text me directly. It's actually my number. It's 314-461-1862. And the other thing I did was I built out an online basketball school, which is pretty cool. I always wondered why I couldn't learn about basketball the way I learned about math and science and social studies. So I started a virtual basketball school on my website, which is puresweatbasketball.com.
Drew, thanks so much for joining us. For Chris, I'm Ian. We'll see you next Wednesday on the Putback for a live edition previewing the Knicks season opener against the Indiana Pacers.
So, what part of RJ Barrett's game would you like to see the biggest improvement this year? That's the subject of this week's Putback poll presented by AAA Northeast, now offering DMV services at NYC branches. Go to sny.tv/vote now to share your thoughts.